Happy Monday, guys. Today's home workout is an AMRAP 12 of 12 wall balls, 6 power snatches, and 3 overhead squats. This workout is meant to be done at a high intensity, but we're not going at a full-out sprint. We want to work just below our threshold pace that we can keep consistent for the 12 minutes. So something around 80-90% effort, or a pace that will be continuous, that you can continuously hold for 12 minutes. 12 wall balls ideally should be done unbroken. Only break it up once if you need to. Power snatches and overhead squats. Now power snatches, if you don't have a barbell, again, let's go with that dumbbell, or we can use one single object that you can safely get overhead with a single arm, and you can alternate each arm, so go 6 and 6. Then for the overhead squats here, I find overhead squats with a single object actually a little bit more challenging than having one stationary object, one static object overhead. So if you want to go maybe use a broomstick for your overhead squats, or even just get your hands overhead and mimic that overhead position, you can do that as well, and it's a great way to work on your overhead position. Another way would be to do some alternating lunges with an object in that overhead position. So you can hold it overhead and go for 6 alternating overhead lunges instead of the 3 overhead squats. Play around, see which one where you can keep the best form with. I want to see those arms locked out, that rib cage tucked in, and those lunges should look good. Or with those overhead squats, again, we're trying to hit a consistent depth, back and chest up tall, and a good locked out position. So play around with it. If you don't feel one is as comfortable as the other, let's switch to that scaling progression of doing the lunge instead of the full overhead squat. Again, with this one, guys, we want to try to aim to finish around within, I would say, 90 seconds or so. So it's a pretty aggressive pace, but that's the stimulus I want you to kind of get out of this one. Try to hold that pace for as long as you can for that 12-minute mark. And I think you'll look around, or are looking to get about 7+ rounds in this one, ideally. With that pace, if you can get more, then that's perfect. That's the idea of this workout. Once you finish this one, 2 sets, 10 and 10 reverse lunges, and then single-legged deadlift. So actually that's gonna be a combo, one complex on its own. You're gonna do a reverse lunge plus a single-legged deadlift, and that's gonna count as 1 rep. And you're gonna do that 10 reps on one side, then 10 reps on the opposite side. Then we're gonna go into 10 and 10 side plank reaches, really trying to work on those obliques and that core, really try to make sure you're keeping a good stationary position as you're doing that reach. Avoid kind of doing an extra twist or losing any stability in any other area. So 2 sets of that, nice and quick, guys, to work on the lower half of our body there, on that core and on those legs there. Hope you guys enjoyed today's workout and the afterburner. We'll see you guys next for the warm-up video. All right, guys, so for the warm-up today, we're starting off with some mobility. We're starting off 3 and 3 single arm camshafts. So we're working on that shoulder blade, that scap, really trying to get that moving and create some awareness for ourselves as we get towards that workout. So for that camshaft, guys, I want you to start off with your arm nice and straight, elbow locked out. From here, guys, what we want to do is kind of mimic a cylindrical or circular motion when we do this. So what I would start off with is push your shoulder blade forward without twisting at the spine or anything like that, or through the midline. Then you're going to lift that shoulder up, retract, and as you're retracting, you're pulling your shoulder blade down, and then back forward again. We're going to be going for 3 per side, or 3 in one direction, 3 in the opposite direction, really going slow and feeling where that shoulder blade is in space. This is going to give us some awareness, get that proprioceptive system fired up and ready to go. So 3 on that one side in the clockwise and the counterclockwise direction, then do the same thing on the opposite side. Again, really trying to go in that circular or like elliptical motion for your shoulder there. Next thing, guys, we're going to get those hips a little bit loosened up. Same mobility kind of drill for that as well. We're going to get into about a squat stance, knees bent, and we're going to think about trying to push our left hip into our left hand there. So we're going to tilt that hip to the left there, then go back into center, then push out to that right position. Really trying to isolate that hip on its own as we do this. We're gonna go for 3 lateral glides of the hips per side, really trying to keep motion just in the lateral plane rather than the forward and back plane there. Once you finish that, guys, we're gonna go into 2 sets for our warm-up and activation, which is a hollow hold to start off with. So we're gonna come down to the floor. Again, with that hollow hold, keep the legs straight, round that back and sit back until your legs are off the ground, the upper back is off the ground. Hands can be by your side or overhead. Keeping the core nice and engaged. 20-second hold. Once you're done, we're gonna go for 20 flutter kicks. So 10 flutter kicks per side. Once you're done that, guys, we're gonna go into a single leg glute bridge, and we're gonna add a press in that position as well. So make sure you have an object that you're comfortable with pressing from that horizontal plane. You'll only need one. As you do this, you're gonna be pressing from that one side. So I'm gonna be holding that kettlebell on my right arm there. And I'm gonna sit back into that glute bridge. From here, I'm gonna do a single leg glute bridge on my left side, then press with my right. Lower the right side, bring that left leg down. I'm gonna do that for 6 reps on that side before I switch. So again, single leg press, then push up with that kettlebell, back down, and then lower again. This will really challenge both your glutes and hamstrings, but also your midline stability as you're in that position. So we're gonna do 6 on one side, 6 on the other side for 12 total. Then from there, guys, we're gonna go into some more pressing. This time we're gonna use 2 objects. So I want you guys to get into that kneeling position. Hips are open all the way, and we're gonna go for some alternating presses. So we're gonna press one overhead. As the opposite comes down, we're gonna switch and press the opposite kettlebell. We're gonna go for 10 alternating reps here. And as you do this, guys, really try to watch out that you don't twist around. Keep the core engaged, keep everything nice and tight as you go through those 10 reps. Finally, guys, in that 2 sets, the last movement will be the Deadstop kettlebell swing. So usually we kind of keep the kettlebell swings going continuously. We're gonna stop at the bottom each time and really emphasize the drive through our legs to get the kettlebell overhead. So kind of like a ground overhead here, guys, with the kettlebell in between our feet, chest up nice and tall. We're gonna think about driving hard through the legs and then continue that pull with our elbows and lock that dumbbell or kettlebell overhead. So what it looks like from that side profile, I'm here, locking up straight overhead, starting from that bottom position each time. 2 sets of that, guys, to get that activation going, and once you're done, we'll see you next for the movement standards.
Then you're going into your wall ball, so grabbing that soccer ball, that basketball, volleyball, whatever you got guys at home. If you got something, if you don't have a med ball per se, okay? So going into your target, so maybe it's inside your house, guys, trying to throw it as high as you can. Then back into that squat, okay? Or if it's a heavier object, try to be consistent with your target. If it's light, high as possible. If it's a weighted object, hit that target. Starting with the alternating snatch. I got a dumbbell here, guys. So depending what you have at home, your starting position might be slightly different, okay? So what I'm getting at is if I have a smaller object, I might have to squat down to reach it versus leaning forward and rounding my back. That is usually your go-to, more natural, kind of lean forward, reach for it. But then that changes your spine position, does not keep it in neutral position. So try to get in the habit of hinging with the hips, okay, squatting down if your object is a little bit smaller, okay? To avoid using your back or compromising your back position, use those legs. Just like any lift here that we would use with a barbell, you would deadlift it from the floor. From there, you guys are gonna drive your hips, heels into the floor. As you drive your elbow slightly back, then quickly turn it around and punch it to the ceiling, okay? Avoid that two-step because it's not a clean and press, it's a snatch, okay? So one fluid, continuous movement all the way overhead, okay?
Pass-throughs. So your arms are going to be fully locked out. Start off on the outside edge of that PVC, and we're just going to go front to back a couple times. Now, notice how Yash is keeping those shoulders down. It's common that we want to shrug the shoulders up in a pass-through. We want to try to keep the shoulders down. If that feels really easy, you can bring your hands in closer and closer until it gets to the point where it kind of gets to a point at in the overhead where it's sticky. There's a spot where it's just really hard to get through without bending those elbows. So when you find that spot, that's a great spot to start for that overhead squat. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the positioning in our upper back and shoulders. So what Yash is doing is he's actually rotating. So if I were to grab his arm and rotate it, he's trying to get the armpits pushing forward and the elbow pits pointing upwards. Once he gets into that lockout position, he's going to pinch those shoulder blades together. He's trying to get the insides of those shoulder blades closer towards each other, and he's trying to think of getting that whole shoulder blade kind of tucked into his back pocket. So he's pulling those shoulder blades down, pinching them together. Once you get into that position, we're just going to come down into our squat. So you can see Yash is going to start slowly coming down. He's got good mobility. Obviously, he practices this position since he was about 12 years old. So he's got a good spot here at the bottom. If you can look forward for me there, Yash, you want to keep that head and neck in that neutral position, squeezing those shoulder blades together, weights on the heels. You can come up there, Yash. So.
All right, for today's Afterburner, we have 3 sets of alternating reverse lunges with a single-legged deadlift at the end. We're going to use 2 weights for that today. So I would hold them in that farmer's carry position or that suitcase carry position. First movement, we're going to do that reverse lunge. Coming down, shin nice and vertical, chest nice and tall. Then we're going to stand it up. Then from there, same leg that was in front, we're going to do that single-legged deadlift. So coming down, then opening up at the top there. So we're going to be doing 10 reps or 10 of those complexes on the one side, then switching and doing 10 more on the opposite side. Again, really take your time with this, guys. Really try to work on that activation in the hamstring and in that quad as well. Notice that if your balance is going with those single-legged deadlifts, put your foot behind, start from there, then hinge at the hips to help you with that balance. Also, another thing, guys, really try to pinch the ground, or grip the floor with your toes. Then it'll allow you to really stay stable in that movement. Once you're done that, guys, we're going to go into those plank reach outs. So we're going into that plank position on the floor. You can go off your elbows or you can go off the base of your hand. We're going to keep ourselves nice and parallel, so nice and straight. Then with that arm, we're going to reach out as far as we can. Then we're going to pull back. Reach out as far as we can, then pull back into it. We're going to go for 10 on one side, then you're going to switch and do 10 on the opposite side. Hope you guys enjoyed today's Afterburner. We'll see you tomorrow.